Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, family. Certainly, you all have seen our coverage here about, MAGA loving former, I should say, deceased Charlie Kirk, which of course was an absolutely anti-black, uh, uh, suspected white supremacist. Well, the powers that shouldn't be, Trump and all the rest of them, but buddies with him. Of course, he helped to deliver a lot of the young MAGA vote for Trump and stuff. And of course, he says he's a Christian and loves their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And so by him loving their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, automatically meant that, he aligns himself with certain suspicious factions, foreign factions that are said to do great damage here in the United States and around the world. Well, with that being said, there's a lot of, speculation on the gram. There's a lot of speculation throughout mass media about about Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, about her lineage. And to be honest, not just her lineage, but his lineage too. They got some suspicious ties, they family and stuff, allegedly. Now, I'm not going to get into all that. I do detailed breakdowns about the hidden powers that shouldn't be in global forces during my offline webinars for obvious reasons. So don't get mad at me, fam, because I don't go into great detail about a lot of this stuff. If you want to learn more about that, go to my website at vickiplanet.com and check out the front page of my website, and you can find out that information because I go really, really deep. There's a reason why I'm respected literally from students and attendees from around the world when they attend my high-level courses. Don't ever get me twisted here when you see me in one way. I always make sure that you do your due diligence to find out information that might not otherwise be accessible to you. And of course, the main part of the information that's most potent that I bring to the table is my spiritual, metaphysical insight into stuff. So you definitely don't want to miss that. But with that being said, I said all that to say I talk about some of the forces that's actually behind a lot of some of this in my private webinars. But I want you to see this clip, family. She was recent. Now, mind you, Charlie Kirk just got shot before the whole wide world, right? Literally the whole world gave a response. Much of the world, I should say, gave a response about his passing. And his wife, Erica, the lady you're getting ready to see in this clip, remember a couple of days after he passed, she came out with this really strange press conference and basically talked about how she's going to be the commander for this new war they going on. Okay, I mean, this how they women do stuff. Well, watch this clip.
Of stuff from Korea and Japan that no one's heard of.
Podcasts.
So, I mean, in the words of my husband, buckle up, because there is a lot of content to be had. And we have so many amazing things down the pipeline that we are working on currently that will
unveil in due time.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
And so,
and by the way, those are things Charlie himself
that he wanted.
Okay, Miss Erica right there is all smiles after the funeral. Now, look, family, if the spirit gives you strength to get through and not grieve your loved one and stuff, especially if you are in, let's say, a marriage or something and somebody was abusive, it doesn't mean you're going to be smiling, but you certainly probably won't be screaming and hollering and crying. Baby, this lady right after the funeral got a twinkle in her eye. Did y'all see her on that clip with just a twinkle, strong, blissful, gleeful, magical twinkle in her eye? Just a few days after the passing of her husband. Talk back to me, somebody. Now, family, she invoked his name just briefly, talking about quoting him. But remember, when she talked about all their upcoming projects, she said, we're so excited. And the guy who's one of her collaborators, he interjected and said, because this is what Charlie would have wanted. He had to remind her, girl, the acting is not good. He had to tell her, ma'am, you supposed to at least come off looking like you halfway missed the man for 5 minutes. Now, we don't have to give you Kleenex. You ain't got to shed no tears, but for God's sake, what is this twinkle in your eye? Why are you doing cartwheels on these people's podcasts? Why are you acting like you at Disneyland, Six Flags? Why are you pretending like you're at an amusement park and you just met, what's these bunnies' name? Mickey Mouse and stuff. Are they even out there still? Dude interjected to remind her to stay in character. Allegedly. Now, why am I bringing that up? And I know y'all like, Vicki, you always talking about, yes, I'm always talking about this. For the past few years on African Diaspora News Channel, I've been telling y'all, reminding y'all to never, ever forget the WKKK. If you look at this article, what does it say here? It says, first came suffrage, then came women of the Ku Klux Klan. The WKKK was independent of the Klan and just as committed to bigotry. One researcher says the 19th Amendment made it possible. So when white women got the right, quote unquote, to vote, what did they do with their freedom? They wanted to perfect anti-Black oppression. Let me hit the gavel on that. So they told their inept husbands and sons, you're not doing it right. We want freedom to oppress in a greater manner. They was telling their husbands and their sons, you're losers. They're telling them, you coming up short, baby. They tell them, look, you don't even know how to do this right. What does a little bit of this article say? It says the WKK formed on the heels of the women's suffrage movement, itself rife with racism. Blee, a dean and sociology professor at the University of Pittsburgh who researches extremist, right-wing, and racist social movements, authored the book Women of the Klan, Racism and Gender in the 1920s. Published in 1991 and again in 2009 with their new preface. In it, she argues that the very expansion, y'all listen, in it, she argues that the very expansion of white women's access to the franchise laid the foundation for a hate group that was, quote, by women, for women, and of women. They said, we don't want to conflate our oppression, our anti-Blackness, our murder, our rage, our theft, our exploitation. Ours got to be more perfected. The sons we birth are coming up short, they said. They said the cross burners ain't enough, baby. That's what they said. Now watch this, family. And I don't want y'all to miss this part. That's why I'm going to keep talking about this. It says the early 1900s were dotted with white symbolism and supremacy. White suffragist suits were not only designed for starkness, but to emphasize femininity that many labeled suffragists as devoid of, undercutting them as mannish and ugly. So they were saying, seemed like they were saying the women and the outfit was mannish and ugly. But I'm just saying, let me just stay focused on the words from the article. They said that this level of oppression, that they style lacked femininity. Are we talking about runway, Vicki? Are we talking about couture? No, we talking about racism, anti-Blackness, and all that goes with it. They said it wasn't attractive, feminine enough. Y'all missing the point right there. The color white unmistakably is also a symbol of purity. As Blee points out, Klan propaganda has a through line of protecting the purity of the race, but more explicitly that of white women who were baselessly depicted as at risk of assault, as more Black men were freed from the bonds of slavery. Lord knows that was baseless. They wasn't running after y'all like that. Now, some of us got problems with our men doing little weird stuff. Look, I don't never fight no Black men if they want a white woman. But honey, I stay out the way. What do I want to do with somebody whose heart is over there? That is not a relationship. I don't believe in being in situations with somebody that don't want me. Talk Black to me, somebody. And if that's pulling you over to there, camping and stuff, let me let you do your thing. Talk Black to me, somebody. Watch this. Chartered officially in June 1923, the WKKK embraced ideas of racial and religious privilege, but rejected the messages of white female vulnerability, Blee wrote. Where Klansmen saw women as housemakers, WKKK engaged around emphasizing the labor involved in raising children and maintaining a home, and also, y'all listen, how to best use their newly bestowed access to the franchise. According to Blee, 250,000 white women joined the WKKK in the first 4 months. 250,000 white women felt led, inspired. Soon as they got rights to votes, what they said was an injustice. White women went to oppressing big time, but more perfected. Now, should they have had the right to vote? Okay. I don't see them no different than I see the oppressors. So I'm not going to sit here and say they should have rights that we didn't have. But don't get it twisted. White women still benefited from their white men being property owners and having the right to vote at that time, because they were the ones that was the benefactors of it in the first place. But nevertheless, I digress. Let me keep going. Watch this. The Women's Klan of 1920s was not only a way to promote racist, intolerant, and xenophobic policies, but also a social setting. Y'all better pay attention to this. Also a social setting in which to enjoy their own racial and religious privileges. Women, we as women, we like to milk circumstances and situations. That's true female energy. White women wanted to soak in and enjoy and milk white supremacy and racism. They needed to have tea and crumpets with theirs. Talk back to me, somebody. It's got to be an experience to oppress. It's got to feel like a luxury. We got to take our time with this. There's nothing to rush past with a quick burn another cross and snatches somebody up on a tree. There wasn't enough for them. They wanted to savor that. Their oppression for the white woman had to come with, that's good. It had to come with, what flavor is that? Honey or sugar? That's real talk right there, family. These women recall their membership in one of the U.S. history's most vicious campaigns of prejudice and hatred, primarily as a time of friendship and solidarity among like-minded women. Friendship. A lot has changed since Blee's book published, but still makes the case that many aspects of the Klan's ideology, although distant in time, are frighteningly, she says, close in spirit to the pervasive strands of racism and unacknowledged privilege that exist among dominant groups in the United States. Let me tell y'all something. Every time we keep seeing all this Karen footage, which they don't even deserve the name Karen like that, because Karen makes their racism sound cute. But y'all know we have to say it a certain way because these algorithms like to defend these women. But I had a recent incident myself where Karen was just a few feet from me and lost her mind and said something, did something crazy. And I sent her packet real quickly. And as she was walking away, I filmed her. And she lifted her hands to the sky, not to raise her hands to their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but to lift up her middle finger, which was the right thing to do in another direction and fast. Away from me. Talk back to me, somebody. That energetic is still with them. They still getting people locked up and in trouble. And more importantly, I wanted you to see the mood, nature, and spirit through Erica, who said that she was the rallying cry. And who White House officials are saying they're getting behind her to start using her as for this new civil war that they got going on. And she obliges. The beauty of having somebody like Vicki Dillard, the original woman, a Black woman, is that when you properly honor us, we got you in this war. And that's all I'm going to say about that. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved. Be sure to go to my website and check out my products and services at VickiPlanet.com. Share this broadcast. Be sure to comment below. I can't wait to see you again.